Hi folks, it's Tim Kitchen here from Adobe, and I'm doing this amazing webinar on Adobe Express for history teachers. We're titling this Engaging in History with Adobe Express. I actually ran this event live face-to-face at the History Teachers Association of Victoria conference earlier in the year. And the teachers thought it was so cool, we thought we'd better record it. Let's get it as a webinar and involve some other history teachers. We didn't get a lot who have joined us live. I just thank you to Rachel and Jane who are with us live at the moment. So we'll be interacting with them throughout the webinar. But we will be sharing this recording out to lots of history teachers, not just in Victoria, actually. We're going to be sharing it with history teachers all over Australia. And in fact, probably around the Asia Pacific region, because history is such an important subject area. And Adobe Express is such a great tool to be using to engage students in a whole range of subjects, but there's a lot of history related areas as well. All right, so let me get started by sharing my screen. Engaging in history with Adobe Express. And Jane and Rachel are with us live, and they've already logged into Adobe Express. And those of you watching the recording, you might want to do that now too. If you go to express.adobe.com and then sign in. And if it's your first time ever using Adobe Express, there'll be a little bit of an onboarding section where it asks you, are you a student or an educator? Make sure you click the educator and then click Let's Go, and then you'll be in, and it looks like this. And this is the K-12 version of Adobe Express that we'll be demonstrating and using for this session. It looks very different to the non-K-12 version. And the main fundamental difference is that when students and teachers log in to Express through their school accounts, they get a K-12 friendly version of Adobe Express, which means when it links to Adobe Stock, which is millions of images, thousands of videos, thousands of audio files that you can work with for any history project or geography project or English project or whichever way you want to go, they're getting a K-12 filtered version of Adobe Stock. So nothing inappropriate is there for them to accidentally come across. Also, when they start using the Gen AI tools, nothing inappropriate will come up even if they start prompting something inappropriate, which is a really key thing. Also, if the student decides to type in a brand name in their prompting when they're creating an image with Gen AI, a warning will come up. These guardrails are all in place, which is why we're considered the most ethical and safe Gen AI image creation tool out there. And I'll talk about the Safer Technologies for Schools program in a minute, but we were re-registered with Safer Technologies for Schools last year. Every 2 years we have to go through that assessment. So I'm very proud to say that we've got these guardrails in place. And after we got our second assessment with Safer Technologies for Schools, the Victorian Department of Education then endorsed Adobe Express for every teacher and every student in Victoria. New South Wales had already done that for all of their government schools, students and teachers. Queensland did it a week after we got registered with Safer Technologies for Schools. Northern Territory had already done it. South Australia have already done it. We're just waiting on Western Australia to catch up. And then we'll have every government school teacher and student around Australia all able to access Adobe Express through their single sign-on, which is just awesome. Mind you, independent and Catholic schools had already done it, or most of them had previously. So make sure that when you are in Adobe Express, it looks like this. And if it doesn't look like this, if it looks something, and I'll just jump back to the non-K-12 version. In fact, I'll open up a fresh Express homepage so you can see how different it looks. If it ends up looking something like that, it means your school hasn't got you set up yet. It means you're probably in a Catholic or in an independent school that actually didn't realize you had access for free, and you haven't gone through that. So if that is the case, have a chat to your IT administrators and get them to get their act together to make sure they get the full K-12 experience of Adobe Express. Now, I'm using the slide presentation side, but let's have a look at all the other things that you can create with Adobe Express. Look at all those things. Every one of those things and a number of other things can be built and created with Adobe Express. And for this particular webinar, we're going to focus on the animation and the video side, because when it comes to teaching history and teaching humanities, if we can encourage our students to create video content and animation content in a relatively simple way, it really engages them. And what I'm loving about Adobe Express, it has 320 characters that can come alive just with the power of a student's voice and a little bit of AI. And so it doesn't have to be the student in front of the camera. It can be. You can also have the student in front of the camera. In fact, I've seen some projects where the student is interacting with an animated character. That's getting to the next level, but it's a lot of fun. All of that is very possible with Adobe Express. And as I mentioned earlier, it's part of the Safer Technologies for Schools program. And if you want to find out more about that and not just take my word for it, you can go to st4s.edu.au. You can search Adobe and just get a verification on the badging. It's probably a good idea to do that with some of the other applications you're working with too, just to make sure they have been registered with Safer Technologies for Schools. It's an organisation that was set up by all the ministers of education around Australia and New Zealand after COVID. Because during COVID, we were just grabbing any bit of software at all that we could use to help connect with our students. And that caused a huge problem in terms of safety, in terms of ethics, in terms of cyber safety. And now we're trying to control down and make sure that everything is nice and safe. All right, let's jump into...
Hi folks, as of June 2025, the home screen of the K-12 version of Adobe Express has been completely reimagined. It's now easier than ever to find what you need, explore amazing guided activities, and dive into a wide range of creative projects. To access this special K-12 version of Adobe Express, simply sign in with your school email. The amazing new tiles on the home page connect you to some of the most popular Adobe Express tools used by students and teachers around the globe. This tile here isn't actually a link, it is the Generate an Image tool that uses the power of Adobe's Firefly Gen AI engine. You can type a prompt directly into this tile to generate almost anything that comes to your imagination. And of course, being modelled on a K-12 friendly version of Adobe stock, it is the most ethical and safe way of working with the Gen AI image creation tool. This tile here is a link to the very popular Adobe Express Creator Poster tool. When you click it, you can start with a blank page, or you can use one of the hundreds of amazing templates. You can even use the Gen AI tool to generate your own template. These are two of my favorite tiles. Create a video, well, that gets you into one of the simplest and intuitive ways to make video content. Again, you can start with a blank canvas and timeline, or get some inspiration from the hundreds of incredible video templates. This tile here, that takes you to the very popular guided activities. The great thing about these resources is that you don't need to know how to use Adobe Express. All you need to know is where to find the play button and let the inbuilt instructor guide you. If you prefer to read instructions rather than watch and listen, a step-by-step user guide is available for each activity. One of the most popular tools within Adobe Express is the animated character feature. This includes about 320 different characters that can come alive with the power of your voice and AI. This is especially great for students and teachers who don't like to be on camera or are just looking for a more creative way to communicate. Note that you can make the background transparent so that you can later add video and other content using the Adobe Express video editing tool. Also note the enhanced speech option, which brings in a noise reduction filter that is great for isolating out unwanted sounds from noisy classrooms. There are lots of other creation options on the new reimagined front page, such as building a web page or digital portfolio, creating a slide presentation, making digital drawings, infographics, and more. Note the Edit tab at the top, which takes you to some of the favorite Adobe Express quick actions, such as removing a background, editing a PDF, and captioning a video. If your favorite quick action isn't available here, you can always go to the Add button at the top left, select the Quick Actions tab, and all of your favorite quick actions from Adobe Express are there still available. Next time you want to create a poster, a video, an animation, infographic, digital portfolio, slide presentation, drawing, almost anything really, make sure you jump into the K-12 version of Adobe Express by signing in with your school email and enjoy working with the new reimagined home screen.
All right, so that's a good introduction. What we're going to do now is we're actually going to start playing. I'm going to get Rachel and Jane to play along with me. And I'm going to bring across the K-12 version. And Rachel and Jane, could you just scroll through, and I want you to find the animator character tile. Once you've found the animator character tile, go ahead and click it. It will take a couple of seconds, depends on your Wi-Fi. But mine's going to be slow. I'm running Teams, and obviously, because it should be up by now, so this is worrying me a little bit. So this might be a slow process, but you'll find that every one of these tiles is a separate character, and eventually, when the Wi-Fi kicks in, we'll see a thumbnail of each of those characters in the tiles, and hopefully you've got them already. As you look through them, there are 320, there's a lot of them, and we're actually building more. So there's probably even more than 320 since I last counted them all. But there's categories of tiles. If we go up to the category all, you'll see all of them. You can see the newest, most recent ones, which are history related ones. And we'll have a look, use one of those in a minute. All the people characters are there. We've got young people. We've got professional people, and apparently Dr. Applesmith has become world famous on Instagram. And every time I go to a school and I show this and I show up Dr. Applesmith, the teenagers that I'm working with go, "Oh, sir, that is," and they'll say his name. I've forgotten his name, Dr. Pickle or something like that. And they go, "Oh, sir, he swears a lot." Oh, okay, really? And then someone showed me on Instagram, he has got a foul mouth. Obviously, that's not the K-12 version that they're working with. Well, who knows? But, you know, it's your voice that's being recorded. But so he's become world famous, Dr. Applesmith, and apparently Dr. Whitlock has become world famous as well. So there we go. Costumed characters, creatures, and animals. Now I'm going to jump back to the new category because we've got some history characters here. Oh, I want to show you one more thing too. Mouths, mouth only. So let's say you've got a history character, an image that is a royalty-free image that you've been able to download, maybe Winston Churchill or some sort of historical character that you've got, that the students have got rights to use. They've got that image, they bring that image into Adobe Express. They can actually use any one of these mouths to be the animation, put it over the top of the mouth of that character, of that picture, and then get that person to talk for them. Now think about that as a way of turning Winston Churchill into a living character that can be part of a project, a story or a documentary that the students are doing. So that's also an interesting creative way of working with it. Lots and lots of other characters, but I'm going to jump back up to the new one, and I'm going to ask Rachel. Rachel, you're going to help me with this little production. Which of these four, so we've got a Roman senator, we've got a Viking, we've got a Roman soldier, and we've got an Egyptian soldier, it looks like, from many years ago. Which one should we work with?
I'm picking the pharaoh, the Egyptian pharaoh.
The Egyptian pharaoh. So I'm going to grab the Egyptian pharaoh, and I'd like you to grab a character as well. The next thing I'm going to get you to do is make that character reasonably big, so you're seeing a good resolution of that character. And then I want you to jump over to the background tab, and there's lots and lots of backgrounds, and some of them might be appropriate. You can even bring in your own background, but for this activity, I'm actually going to get you to do a transparent background. And the reason for that is because I want you to add some video content in the background later on. Another important thing I want you to do is to go to the size tab. And when you go to size, by default, it goes to these Instagram type sizes, which are great if it's something for Instagram. But in a school setting, I want you to actually change it to YouTube, not necessarily that it's going to be on YouTube, but to get the resolution of 1920 by 1080, which is a full high def resolution, which will look amazing on a classroom screen or even a big assembly screen. So you've got a nice wide screen and we've got our character in the middle. And then the last thing I want you to do before we start our little recording is click the enhance speech option. And I'm going to get my pointer working so you can see exactly where I am. So this enhanced speech option, when you activate it, it brings in some noise reduction filters from an application that we have called Adobe Audition, which is our music production software. And this noise reduction filter means that if you've got a busy classroom, you've got 10 people talking next to you, it'll just pick up your voice and whoever's in front of the microphone or the laptop or the desktop, and it will reduce the noise of the people around, which is often really helpful in a classroom experience. Now, Rachel, we want to come up with a bit of dialogue, something that's got a historical context. It's going to be short and sharp. It's like an introduction to a unit of work on Egypt or something like that. What can we brainstorm? What can we come up with as a little intro?
Is it like to introduce the character, or is it to sort of, is he going to talk about his day, or what's happening?
Whatever you like. Just make it related to Egypt 4,000 years ago.
The Nile, it floods too much, and, grandma's tomb, it's just, it's taken us months and it's still not going to be finished, and she died 3 weeks ago. I don't know.
Oh, goodness. That's cool. All right, now we're getting there. So we're going to keep it short and sharp. I mean, you can go up to about 2 minutes actually per character, but it takes a fair while to process all of that data, all that information. So my recommendation is to go really short and do lots of little short ones rather than a really long one. So I like your idea of the Nile is flooding and what was it? The Nile is flooding too much and my grandma...
Yeah, there's problems at the tomb building site.
There's problems at the tomb building site. All right. So I'm going to do a quick recording that has something like that. As I click record, it's going to ask me to allow my microphone, and then I'll get 3 seconds before I start the recording. And now what happens is it's using AI to do the lip syncing. And it's using AI to then move the head, throw in a few actions with the arms and possibly the legs. And it just kind of randomizes the actions a bit. So it's a little bit different each time you do it, which is helpful. But it will take a little while. In fact, while that's doing that, I'm going to get Jane and Rachel to do their own. They're on mute at the moment, so we're not going to be able to hear them, so that's fine. But do your own little recording, and I'm going to just stop talking for a minute so I don't interrupt them. Right, it looks like Jane and Rachel have finished their recording. And poor Rachel, she's in a staff room. There's a whole lot of teachers around her at the moment. And so she's probably a little bit embarrassed, but that's all part of the fun. Those of you watching the recording, I would have cut that out so you wouldn't have seen all of that. But they've done their recording. We might get a chance to hear what they've done a little bit later if they're willing. But what's happened now, it's wrapping up what I recorded and it's done all the AI work. And any second now, I'll be able to hover my cursor over to the character and there's a play button so I can get a preview. I think it's still loading, but I should be able to preview now. Let's just see what it's like.
Oh, the rain has been terrible. The frogs have been terrible. In fact, we're getting plagued by all these different animals for some reason. And the Nile is just flooding at the moment and is causing havoc at the tomb site.
Didn't know pharaohs had Aussie accents, but that's okay. That's all part of the fun. And of course, your students would have already done the research. They would have already scripted what they're going to be saying and make sure it's authentic, maybe even practiced an accent that would be authentic for that time, but it doesn't really matter. When you look at some of the history documentaries, if you look at horrible histories and the way they use their British accents, it's just so much fun. It just engages the students and helps them in all sorts of ways. My recording's done pretty well. I haven't got a lot of gaps at the start or the end, so I'm pretty happy with it. But if there's a long gap at the start, I can trim it. If there's a long gap at the end, I can trim it. And if I did have a background, if it wasn't transparent, I would be able to just download this right now as a video with my background. Job done. to this point. But I've deliberately asked you not to have a background because I want to force you into the editor so that we can keep creating this as an actual video content and make it a bit more interesting. So once your AI has done its thing, go ahead and click Open in Editor. And we'll see that we've now got the character will be sitting up on this stage, and we've got a timeline down the bottom. And now to play what you've recorded, there's a play button sitting here next to the timeline.
Oh, and the rain has been terrible. The frogs have been terrible.
And what I'm thinking I'm going to do for my little story is I'm going to get some video of rain, because that's what I'm talking about. So, and then you can think about whatever is going to work for your context. By going to the media tool on the left-hand side, and I'll just stretch this out so we're not being confused by the other tools that you can see behind that. There we go. So on the media tool, this gives us access to Adobe Stock. And by clicking media, we can see we've got access to a tab that gives us thousands and millions actually of images, of still images that are royalty-free all through Adobe Stock. Royalty-free and quality, and you can use them for any production without any copyright issues. And of course, as I said earlier, it's the ethical safe version, so nothing inappropriate is there. There are thousands of video files, thousands of audio files. It's also worth noting that if you do go to, say, Photos, you can upload any image that you've got on your computer, but be aware that you might be breaching copyright when you do that. So just make sure you own the rights to any content that you bring into your productions. Just like with the videos tab, you can upload a video, or the audios, you can upload an audio. But again, just that's a teachable moment for the students. Why wouldn't they be using Taylor Swift, even if they've bought the song? So have those conversations with your students. Now I'm going to jump into the videos tab. And just want to show, so I've mentioned upload from device, so we could upload, but I'm not going to. If we clicked animate characters, it actually brings in another character. And that's where you could have two characters on the same scene. That gets a bit complicated, so we're not going to worry about that right now. I could also record myself, and that'll activate my webcam, and then I could actually be part of this story as well. I could record as I'm talking to the camera. But in this case, I'm going to go and search videos. I'm going to search for rain. And as I'm searching for rain in Adobe Stock, there happens to be 1,010 videos of rain in Adobe Stock. As I hover over them, I get a sense of what they do. And those first three are pretty good, actually. So I'm just hovering to find the most appropriate one. I reckon that third one's probably going to do the job for me. So I'm going to click on that third one. And then it asks me, do I want to add this as a layer on the canvas? And that's exactly what I want to do. Otherwise, if I choose this option, it's going to be added as a second scene. And that's not what I want. I'm just doing one scene at the moment. I'll worry about a second scene later if I get time. I'm going to go add as layer on canvas, and then the image comes across onto the screen. Sometimes it comes across as a little box on the top left-hand corner, and we need to then click this button here called Fill Video. And you'll notice it's overtaken the character. And if you look on the right-hand side, you can start to see the layers that are being built as we're developing this composition. So I'm going to go to my character layer and drag it up above the background. And then for this particular project, I'm going to make my character a little bit smaller, position it over to the right. For those of you who know anything about the rule of thirds, very rarely do we have our main protagonist, our main person, in the middle of the scene. We always have them slightly to the left, slightly to the right. Just notice that every time you're watching television, if it's a professional videographer or a professional photographer, they'll apply the rule of thirds more often than not. So I've got my character, and now I'm going to go and hit the play button. Just get a sense of what it's like at this point.
Oh, and the rain.
Oh, my video hasn't actually rendered. Because I'm using Microsoft Teams and I've got a few things happening, it is probably going to slow down. If that's that's not going to work. So I'm going to delete that rain and just bring in another rain. I'll bring in this one and just bring my character back up and just see if this one works better for me. might be.
Oh, the rain has been terrible. The frogs have been terrible. In fact, we're getting plagued by all these different animals for some reason. And the Nile is just flooding at the moment and it's causing havoc at the tomb site.
Now, my video kind of stopped. So I've got a few options here. I could duplicate the video to keep it going, or I could go back and choose another video that actually goes a bit longer. But I think in this case, because my video is quite short, I might just duplicate it. So to do that, and you may not need to in yours because yours might be going too long. In fact, what you might need to do if your video is too long is you might need to go and trim the whole scene, or trim that background so it matches the same length as the character. Mine I can't because it only goes for 9 seconds and my dialogue goes for longer than 9 seconds. So I'm going to click on the background, and it's been a while since I've done this. I'm doing a right click on it and duplicating, and hopefully, no, that's not going to work. I've got to do this on the timeline. Got to remember myself how to do this. It's very rare. I might do the easy option and find another background that goes longer, because this is slowing me down. How do I duplicate that? No, it's a bit too complicated maybe. That's it. Let me just duplicate from there. No, that's duplicated the whole scene, so I don't need to do that. All right, I'm going to go the easier route. I'm going to choose a different background that goes for a bit longer. I'll try this first one.
Oh, the rain has been terrible.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I just need to stretch it and make sure it does fill the whole background. And now this one's far too long. On the bottom right-hand corner is our zoom that allows us to zoom so we can see the whole timeline. We can either zoom right in or zoom right out. I'm going to zoom right out, and then I'm going to trim the background. Oh no, it's already trimmed basically, so it's going to stop there anyway. I think, let's see.
At the moment, and it's causing havoc at the tomb site.
Yeah, that's where it stops anyway. That's good. So I'm good to go. The other thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring in some sound of rain. So I'm going to go back to my media tool, and instead of clicking videos, I'm going to go to the audio tab, and it's already searching for rain. It was searching for rain because that's what I had in the search. But if I wanted to close that, I could do another search, but that's exactly what I am looking for, some audio of rain. And it's going to give me some samples. Let's see. It's not bad. Yeah, that one's pretty good. So as I've found one that I like, I can then click away from the preview button, just click anywhere in that tile, and it brings the sound effect into the timeline.
Oh, the rain has been terrible. The frogs have been terrible.
Sometimes you need to reduce the volume of the sound, particularly if it's a soundtrack. If it's a bit of music that you've brought in, then you do need to bring the volume down. To show you how to bring in music, if I go, it's the same technique. I'm going to the media tool, I'm going to audio, but I'm going to close my rain search. And I just want to show you the different categories of audio. The first category actually is ideas based on your file. And apparently it's supposed to be a little bit of AI that says, oh, you might like this for your story. But whenever I've tried it, I'll try this one. It's actually not bad. That's one of the first times I've actually previewed something that actually could work. So I might use that. But usually what happens is it's just inappropriate. So we go down, there are sound effects as a category. Now that, when you click view all to sound effects, there are ambient sounds, transition sounds, user interface sounds, nature sounds, games. And once you've found the category, you can click view all, and you can then preview lots and lots of different options and then bring them into your story. There's Greg Stewart. Hello, Greg. One of my Adobe Education leaders, Adobe Creative Educator leaders, doing a great job at his school. If you wanted to get music, we'd go out of the sound effects and we'd scroll down past sound effects into acoustic music, background music, blues music, brass music, classical music. Once you've found a category that you like, and in this case, probably world music would be best if I remember I've got that somewhere. Yeah, world music. And if I click view all and just start previewing, that's not bad. It's not quite right. Yeah, look, do you know what? I actually liked that first one that we saw, which was this one here. It kind of worked. So I'm going to add that now anyway. So that's appeared on the timeline. And I'm going to bring the volume right down like I suggested earlier. And now I should have the character talking with some rain in the background and the music.
Oh, and the rain has been terrible. The frogs have been terrible.
So you can see how our composition is coming in a little bit at a time, step by step. Now, for those of you watching the recording, we'll probably pause at this point in the recording, but I just want to come back to Jane and Rachel to see how they're going, to see if they've got any questions, because we've covered quite a lot in that short space of time, but I just want to get some feedback from you. So Jane, how are you going?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't find my mic. Good, except I couldn't record. My voice didn't record. So I've got a nice little Roman in Pompeii, but he didn't record. And I think that's because maybe I'm on Teams and I had my microphone blanked out, everything like that. But all good. He's sitting in front of a volcano. He's not very happy.
Good. You'll be able to use some music sound effects, but when you're not on Teams, it should work beautifully for you.
Yeah.
You did click allow, didn't you, when it got to that point when you went to record? Did it give you the option to allow?
I think so. I thought I was recording at the time, so right. I'll go back and play with it another time, though. I understand the theory. It's fun. Good.
And the only other thing to note is when I was doing my recording, you may have noticed the frame was flashing blue. That's an indication to say that it is working. And if you find your frame isn't flashing, it means there's an issue with your mic that you need to sort out. Rachel, how are you going?
Oh, I've unmuted. Yeah, Greg just came and set me up on 2 screens. That's what he was doing in the background. So I'm just figuring out how to work my 2 screens. But I gave you the Pharaoh because I've picked him for mine already. And I've got him on like a chariot galloping through, and he's talking about how his viziers accidentally signed a peace treaty. How do you do that? And it's got like I've managed to get the sort of ancient Egyptian music sounding stuff behind him.
Great, good. And your audio worked?
Yeah, my audio worked. But I have one issue because like the first video wasn't long enough to go with the voice. And so I've like just added a second video after it, like for the background. But there's this flash of white in between them. So I don't know how to close the gap so that it just seamlessly goes from one to the other.
Yeah. Can you just click and move it? Like if I just grab the background,
so let me show you what you're doing. Oh yeah, okay. I'll try and see. So if I click on the layer, then the layer comes up there. So if I just move that layer like back slightly, let me just try that.
See if that works for you.
It takes like 10 seconds to get there. I'm just seeing if that works. Oh, it's still doing a white flash in between, but yeah. All right, but I can I'll play around with that and see if I can manage to close the gap.
Good. All right. So what we're going to do now is going to bring in some other elements to this. So in my story, I talk about frogs, don't I?
Oh, and the rain has been terrible. The frogs have been.
So I'm not going to go to Adobe Stock to get some frogs. I could find some images of frogs and bring them in, but we've got this other tool here called Elements, which is really cool. If we click on the Elements option on the left, there are design assets, there's backgrounds, there's shapes, there's icons, and there's little animated stickers. And all I'm going to do is search for frogs, or just frog, frog. And let's see what comes up. So we've got a range of design assets. In fact, we've even got stickers that are animating. I'm going to avoid the animation. I'm going to click on View All to Design Assets. And I might change that to frogs and see if I get more than one frog. No, it's still frog. That's okay. Oh, there's more than one frog, lots of different frog options. So I might just grab this one. And as you click on an element, it will appear on your stage and you can then position it anywhere you think would be appropriate. And then once you've got an element in, there's a few options for you. One would be to go up to the top left-hand corner and click the animation tab. And this allows us to then do some animation. But I don't want to start the frog until the character actually says frogs. So I think it's around about here, but I'm just going to test it again.
It's been terrible. The frogs have...
So just about here where he says frogs. So now that I've got my frog in there, I'm going to go to the very beginning of that frog layer because I've clicked on the frog and the layer is appearing for me. I'm going to go to the edge of that and just trim it so that that frog will appear as soon as the character says frogs.
Oh, and the rain has been terrible. The frogs have been terrible.
Now that I've got the frog appearing at the right time, I would like to animate the frog. So by clicking the frog and going to the animation section, I can hover over the wobble effect. That's pretty cool. Hover over the barn door, not so good. Got lots of different animation options. I might do the drop. I'm going to click on the drop, and then I'm going to click on the drop a second time. And I'm going to have the drop come in from outside the page. So it literally drops from the sky like it's raining frogs, and just test what that looks like.
Terrible. The frogs have been terrible.
Now that I've got that, I'm thinking I might duplicate that by doing a right click on the frog, clicking duplicate, and then repositioning the second frog, even making it a bit smaller. And theoretically, that second frog will drop at the same time.
Oh, and the rain has been terrible. The frogs have been terrible.
Good. Now I'm going to make that second frog appear just a little bit after the first frog.
Oh, and the rain has been terrible. The frogs have been terrible. In fact,
So now we can see how we've got a lot of control over our animations. And I might duplicate that a third time. Bring it over here and just reposition it so it comes in a little bit later as well. If I zoom further in, I've got a lot more control over exactly when I want it to come in. You can even go frame by frame. If you zoom right in, you can get a frame by frame.
The frogs have been terrible. In fact,
Might bring that one in a bit quicker. So you've got a lot of control, and the more you practice with it, the better that you get.
Well, the frogs have been terrible. In fact, we're getting plagued by all these different animals for some reason, and the Nile is just flooding at the moment and it's causing havoc at the two.
Now, he's talking about the Nile flooding, so I might emulate the issue that Rachel was having. I'm going to bring in a second background. So if I reduce the length of this, oh, that's the whole scene, I don't want to do that. We'll reduce the length of the background.
Nile is just...
I'm just going to find another video of the Nile or a video of a river. In fact, I'll search for Nile just in case we do have a picture. Nile River. Who knows? No. I'll just do river. Nile River is probably a brand name. Or if I go Egypt River. Aha, there we go. Might grab that one. And then drag it so that it appears when I want it to appear.
We're getting plagued by all these different animals for some reason, and the Nile... these different animals for some reason, and the Nile is just flooding at the moment and it's causing...
And of course, I need to readjust my character.
For some reason, and the Nile is just flooding at the moment and it's causing havoc at the tomb site.
All right, so I've added quite a few different elements here. And of course, when you're teaching your students to do this or getting to work, it's really best to do it fairly simple to start with, just one background with one character, maybe one element. And as they practice and get better at it, and some will fly with it, some will just go to town and produce these amazing productions. Others will struggle with just the basics. But that's the same with any sort of technology. Now, the other thing we could do is we could add another scene. So clicking this plus button here at the end of the scene gives us the option to add a blank scene. And I'm talking about tombs, aren't I? So I might see if I've got some pictures or even videos of the pyramids. Yep, we've got some video of pyramids. And so that will now layer on top of my second scene.
Havoc at the tomb site.
And I can get the soundtrack to keep going just by clicking the soundtrack. And I don't want to move the soundtrack, sorry. I want to stretch it. So I'm going to go to the edge of it and stretch it. I'm not sure exactly how long my soundtrack goes for. I'll just leave it like that for the moment.
Is causing havoc at the tomb site.
And the only other thing that we haven't done yet is to actually bring in some titles or some text. And that's as simple as going across to the text tool on the left. By clicking the text tool, we can add our text by clicking the blue button at the top. And I'll just type in tomb site. Once you've typed in what you want the text to say, you can go to town with that on the left-hand side with all of these different tools that allow you to change the font and the color and the style. I wonder if there's an Egyptian type of font. No. I'll just go with whatever comes up first.
Papyrus. That's your Egyptian type font.
That's right. What's it called again?
Papyrus.
Papyrus. P-A-P, is it? P-A-P-Y?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
obviously.
it doesn't look like you have it, yeah.
No. Oh,
It's like one of those old-fashioned bog standard ones.
yeah. I'll stick with that one. That'll do.
Yeah.
And I need to change the color of that. So I'm just going to select it and then go to the fill color option and change it to white. But even white on a lighter background is not going to work. So up the top center, there's an effects tab that allows you to bring in some drop shadows. And then if you click on that drop shadow a second time, you can then change the color of the drop shadow. Make it a nice yellow. And I want the word tomb site to appear just after, and I'll animate it too, because every element that you bring onto your stage can be separately animated. I'll just fade it in.
Tomb site.
That's nice. It's actually fading in with the music as the music changes. I've got that working, which is quite handy.
Site.
And I'm thinking I'll fade out the music. So if I click on my soundtrack, I've got my fade in and out, fade out and fade in. I don't want to fade it in. I just want to fade it out. So I'm going to activate that. So the last 2 seconds of what I've got in my timeline should be fading music. Nice. All right, that's all the basics. There's a nice transition option between the 2 scenes. Every time you create a new scene, you can have a transition. So that little plus symbol that appears there, we can click on that and then activate Add Transition. There's only a handful of transitions. I might just do a dissolve. That's a very standard one. And if you click the transition, just like you can click an animation, when you click it a second time, you can control things like the duration, and you can control the direction with the animation, and whether it starts outside the page like I showed you earlier. So you've got all of those controls as well.
Site.
And if it looks a bit jittery at the moment, it's jittery for me because I'm running Teams. Be rest assured that when you do download it as an MP4 video, it won't be jittery. It'll actually be a really high quality, full high def video that you've worked with, because everything that you've added is high res. It's from Adobe stock. It's good quality imagery. If you've brought in your own image that is really low res, you're going to have some issues potentially as well. If you've just grabbed something from the internet and brought it in, you may well have some issues. And that's one of the good teachable moments, to get the kids not to do that for copyright reasons, but also for the fact you want to keep things as good quality as possible. All right, so that gives you a sense of the video and the animation side of Adobe Express, which of course is just 10% of what Adobe Express can actually do. What I'd like Jane and Rachel to do is, even if you haven't finished yet and you're not totally happy with it, we could download it, but I'd like you to go to the share button at the top right-hand corner. And when you go to share, see if you can find the view only link option, and then click create link. And this will generate an online link of what you've created. And then once that's generated, it'll take a couple of minutes. I want you to put it into the chat, and then we can have a look at what you've created. While you're doing that, I want to show you a few other features of Adobe Express, the K-12 version, that is really helpful for history teachers. So I'm just opening up another tab on my browser. And as a teacher, you should have the Teach tab. If you don't have the Teach tab, you can always go to your settings by going to the top right-hand corner and looking for your settings option, and then scrolling down to find your role settings and make sure you are in as an educator. And that'll give you the Teach tab. And once you've got the Teach tab accessed, I want to show you the curated classroom activities. By clicking these, we can choose all subjects: math, science, social studies. If we go to the social studies section, we can start looking at some guided activities, some standards aligned classroom activities that relate to social studies. So I'm looking for, say, this one here, write a page from the past. If I activate this particular activity, all I need to do now is find the play button, and then the guide will guide the student through the activity.
In this project, you will imagine what it would be like to live in a different time by writing a diary entry from the perspective of a historical person. Hop in your time machine and let's get started. Step 1. Change the text at the top of the page to a historical period of your choice, or to the period your teacher selected. To choose a perspective, consider whose point of view sheds light on the most important or interesting parts of their time.
It is a little bit American focused, but you can adapt that accordingly and then make sure your students have. So basically it's providing you with a template that the students will then go and rework and then submit that assignment for you. Let's go back to the home page. By clicking the Adobe Express logo on the top left-hand corner, it takes me back to the home page. Clicking the Teach section again, going back into Social Studies, and let's find another history one. Produce a history music video. It's a little bit gimmicky, this one, but when I showed it at the conference, one of the teachers said, "Oh, this is exactly what we're doing. This is so cool." So I'll show it to you anyway. So we'll click the play.
In this project, you will create a music video about a historical event and share how it changed the world. You will learn a few advanced editing techniques, such as how to add animations, effects, themes, and voiceovers to your video. Let's get started. To get started editing, click on the Edit Timeline button to see the scenes of your video appear. Then, select the scene you want to edit. You can change any element in the scene by clicking on it and replacing it in the left panel. For example,
anyway, you get the idea of that one. just show you a couple more. So back to the teach section, curated classroom activities, and click social studies. Fill a time capsule, that's a good one for history. Reimagine a historical radio broadcast. I actually haven't looked at this one yet. I'm going to just test it out and see what it's like. I think it's a fairly new one, this one. May not be the audio on this.
In this activity, you'll reimagine a radio broadcast from a moment in
Just going to try that again, pop it out.
time and become the lead reporter to tell the story. Let's get started. Click the text in the speech bubble on the right side and replace it with a famous quote by a historical figure. On the left side, customize the information with your name, the historical figure's name, and the location and date when the moment in time took place.
Cool. I like that. Yeah, I haven't seen that one before, but that could relate to almost any history topic at all. Just going back to home again, going to the teach section, going to select a subject, social studies. So we've looked at some of the guided activities. Now we've got standards aligned classroom activities. This one's a newspaper from history. So you don't actually have a play button because it's not a guided activity. It's just a template. It shows you the standards. These standards are coming from the ISTE standards, the International ISTE, I forget what it is, International something technology education. No, I should know, but it's escaped me. But what I've noticed is that when I show these standards to Australian teachers, they instantly identify them with the Australian curriculum, even though it's not from the Australian curriculum. They say, oh yeah, that's, and they kind of tell me, oh yeah, that's that part of the Australian curriculum. So it's very easy to map these general international standards with our own local standards. So in this particular activity, design a newspaper examining the key social, political and cultural aspects of a historical moment. So if we go to where it says customize template, it'll open up the template in Adobe Express, and then away you go, just by going through and customizing all the content. So that's a nice fun one too. Now our time is over, so I just wanted to show you those resources, and I'm going to be stopping the recording in a minute, and then I'm going to accredit Jane and Rachel with their accreditation, which is going to be great. But before we do, let's have a look at what they've created. So I've just clicked on Rachel's one. It's coming up on my screen now. And let's have a quick look at what Rachel's done. Is there meant to be audio there, Rachel? Okay, let's see what's going on.
Accidentally made peace.
Sometimes it just...
Accidentally made peace.
See if I can just refresh that so we get it back to the start. Oh, come on.
Day it has been. My busiest. He's accidentally signed a peace treaty. Accidentally. How do you accidentally make peace? Do you accidentally make peace? That's so cool. I think that Rachel deserves a round of applause. Well done, Rachel. All right, let's have a look.
Mine is a lot shorter and simpler.
That's good because we're running out of time. So let's just see what this is like. Just giving it some time to kick in. Sometimes when I'm running Teams, this works a lot better in a classroom when you haven't got Teams, but I am having some issues playing it. It looks so cool though, I want to play it.
That's all right, there's a volcano happening, it's all disastrous.
I can see that. It's probably just taking a bit of time to render, but I'm going to give you a round of applause anyway. Well done, Jane. It's nice to thank you for doing that. Good. Now, those of you watching the recording, just got a couple of little housekeeping things for you, and then we'll stop the recording so I can accredit Jane and Rachel. The accreditation you can also get yourself, and I'll show you how to do that in the recording. I've just got to find my slides again. Where are my slides? There we go. So this link here, and I'll put it in the chat for Jane and Rachel, is we've got a whole lot of resources for K-12 teachers. And one of the resources is the Adobe Creative Educator courses, where we've got various levels, and Jane and Rachel are about to receive their level 1 accreditation, because all I need to do is just to see that they've created something, and then I can accredit them. But if you want to do the full course, you can do that through this site. We're running tutorials regularly. We're running webinars regularly. We've just finished our series for this term. Another series of 6 webinars are planned for next term. But most importantly, we have our conference coming up on the 2nd of October, and that QR code will take you to the link, and I'll put it into the chat as well. There are 30 workshop options. There are 4 keynote options. Some of them are higher ed related, and a couple of plenary sessions. We've already had several thousand teachers register. It's going to be a fantastic day of professional learning on the 2nd of October. It's free, it's virtual, it's online, and everything's being recorded so you can watch on demand later on. Everything except the micro-credential courses. And if you want to do level 1 and level 2 with me, or my colleagues, you can do those during this conference as well. So those watching the recording, thank you so much, and I look forward to catching up with you at another time. Rachel and Jane, just hang on for a minute and we'll get you fully accredited. All the best, everyone. Thank you very much.